Hey guys, it's SportsDude13 here, and today I'm going to be doing another wacky bracket. This one will be where the NCAA Game Simulator website simulates each of these games until we have a national champion. Yep, so I'm going to be simming each and every one of these games on the website until we have a winner. Just like how I did it the past 2 years, where last year it had Michigan State winning it all, when in reality it was Florida that won it all. But last year, the NCAA Game Simulator website predicted Florida to lose to 16th seed Norfolk State, where that was impossible, and it was the Gators that ended up winning the whole thing in real life. Who knows if we have another 16 seed taking out a 1 seed in the NCAA Game Simulator, but yeah, we'll just have to see. Yep, a lot has changed from last year from this website. Yep, this website now has updated, so I think this looks better than it used to be. And we're gonna be just using where it says simulate the NCAA tournament. It just shows you its cheat sheet there. So that way it's much easier instead of just going through like one game each. Just go like that from there. But so we have all of it. We're just going to go through region by region for all of these. But the first things that we're going to be doing is we're going to do the first 4 games first. So starting off with our first 4 game that we have is Texas against NC State. And it has NC State winning that first 4 game. And just like what we did in the previous 2 years, we're going to be putting each of the first 4 winners right here, as this thing is loading for a while. Oh, hold on. For some reason, this notes thing is loading for a while. There we go. There we go. We'll just put NC State right there. All right. The next first 4 game, Prairie View, Lehigh. And it goes with Lehigh winning that first 4 game. Next, UMBC and Howard. UMBC. In our last first 4 game, Miami of Ohio against SMU. Miami of Ohio was the last remaining undefeated team in college basketball before they suffered their first loss in their first game of the conference tournament. But the NCAA Simulator thinks that Miami of Ohio will fall to SMU in the first 4. So yep, anytime if we go to any of the games that involve any of those first 4 teams, we'll check right here like we did the last 2 years. Alright, and this is where the real simulation begins. So starting off with our first game of the main bracket, Duke against Siena. It's just taking a while. And it is Duke moving on. Next up, we have Ohio State against TCU. And it's got Ohio State barely beating TCU by a point. Just barely moving on to the next round. St. John's versus Northern Iowa is next. And it goes with St. John's moving on against Northern Iowa. For some reason, like in previous years, well, just like last year, it doesn't show St. John's logo. I don't know why. But anyways, moving on to the next game. Kansas against Cal Baptist. This is Cal Baptist's first appearance in the March Madness tournament in their history, as they're going up against a very experienced Kansas who's got loads of experience in terms of always making it in to the March Madness tournament. And the experience, it goes with the experience of Kansas as they move on to the second round of this bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. So far, it's gone with all the high seeds. So hopefully we do get some upsets in this. We'll have to see what happens. Oh, well, it just puts the 3 seed right here. Anyways, we're just gonna go and sim that next. All right, Michigan State against North Dakota State is the next one. It goes with Michigan State barely surviving the upset bid of the Bison in the Battle of the Green teams. Alright, now we'll simulate Louisville against South Florida. I think this is the first time Louisville has made consecutive March Madness tournaments since during the early 2010s. Yep. the early part of the 2010s decade. So it's a sign that they're back to relevance again. And it thinks Louisville will move on to the second round. Yep. Next is UCLA against UCF, which is University of Central Florida. And it just has them as Central Florida. And it goes with Central Florida taking out UCLA. Next here is UConn against Furman. Oh no, I don't want to change I do not want to change the year. And it goes with UConn scoring over 100 points against Furman. So only one upset so far in the first round for that region in the East. And we're going to stay in this region and keep going until we get someone into the Final Four for that. Just like what we're going to do with all the other regions there. So, second round, Duke against Ohio State. And it has Ohio State upsetting Duke. It has Ohio State taking out the #1 overall seed in Duke. So that's our first big upset of this NCAA Game Simulator. Didn't see that one coming. Next up is St. John's against Kansas. And it's got St. John's taking out Kansas by 2 points to go to the Sweet 16. We got a battle of red teams there. Next up is Michigan State and Louisville. For some reason, this is taking a while. Come on, NCAA Game Simulator! Goes with Michigan State to the Sweet 16. And then UConn against UCF. UCF upsetting UConn. So the top 2 seeds in that region, gone. All right, next is Ohio State, St. John's. And then the battle of those red teams, it picks Ohio State. And then it's Michigan State against UCF. Michigan State to the Elite Eight. And then the battle of Big Ten schools in the Elite Eight between Michigan State and Ohio State. It goes with Michigan State to the Final Four for the second straight year in the NCAA Game Simulator bracket. It goes with Michigan State going to the Final Four out of their region. All right, let's move on down to our next region, which is the South region, where Florida would go up against Lehigh, I do believe. Where Florida would go up against Lehigh, I do believe. Yep, it is Lehigh that they're going to go up against. Just had to make sure. Will Florida fall to a 16 seed once again in the NCAA Game Simulator? No. So, yep, good thing it doesn't fall to a 16 seed for the second straight year at least. But so the NCAA Game Simulator just has them getting out of the first round this time as a 1 seed. Next is Clemson against Iowa. It's taking a while to load this one, and it does go with Clemson. Moving on. Next, Vandy and McNeese. And it goes with Vandy taking out McNeese. Yep, there's Vandy's old logo. I actually like that one more than their current one, but I am kind of used to their current one now, since it's been a few years. Next game is Nebraska against Troy. Nebraska has never won a game in the March Madness tournament in their history. Will the NCAA Game Simulator pick them to win their first ever March Madness tournament game? No, it thinks it'll have to wait. It thinks Troy will upset Nebraska. Next is North Carolina against VCU. It just puts them as UNC. And it goes with VCU to upset North Carolina. Next is Illinois against the Ivy League champs in Penn Quakers. Can Illinois survive the Ivy League magic of the Penn Quakers? About to find out. They do. They beat them by 40 and score 100 against the Quakers. Next is St. Mary's against Texas A&M. Alright, it's not showing the... there we go. Oh, it doesn't show Texas A&M there. Well, we just gotta type them in. Just let me select Texas A&M and NCAA Game Simulator. There we go. St. Mary's against Texas A&M. St. Mary's moving on. And then it is Houston against Idaho. This is the first time I think I've seen a college team from the state of Idaho make the March Madness tournament. And they're gonna upset Houston! It has Idaho upsetting Houston! Oh my goodness! How about that? It picks a 15 seed to move on. Oh my goodness. Now we move on to the second round for these. We got two football schools between Florida and Clemson. And when I say it's between two football schools, both of them are really good in football. And it is Florida going to the Sweet 16. And we got Vandy and Troy. It is Vandy going to the Sweet 16. Illinois against VCU. It's got Illinois going to the Sweet 16. And then next up is St. Mary's against Idaho, who just took out Houston. And it goes with St. Mary's to the Sweet 16, meaning that Idaho's run is over. So in the Sweet 16, Florida and Vandy, two SEC schools, but only one of them can go to the Elite Eight. Who will it be? Florida, just surviving Vandy. And then Illinois and St. Mary's. Illinois to the Elite Eight. So first spot in the Final Four is between Florida and Illinois. Could we have another Big Ten school in the Final Four decided by the NCAA Game Simulator? Or will we have the defending champs go there? And it will have another Big Ten school going to the Final Four in Illinois, taking out the defending champs in Florida. So yep, two Big Ten schools, both seeded number 3 to the Final Four. Alright, now let's do the last two regions. As we now go to the West region next. With it first having 1 seed Arizona against the 16 seed Long Island University. And it goes with Arizona moving on to the second round. And for some reason, it does not want to show Long Island University's logo. Next, we got Villanova against Utah State in the battle of the blue teams. Let's hope it doesn't give them the blues, but one of them will get the blues. It'll be Utah State moving on. And Villanova is the one that gets the blues. Alright, next up is Wisconsin against High Point. And Wisconsin survives High Point and denies them from going to another High Point. Next is Arkansas against Hawaii. And it is Arkansas moving past Hawaii. Yep, aloha and mahalo, Hawaii. But they don't last long in this NCAA Game Simulator. Next up is BYU against either Texas or NC State, which in this case, it is NC State. And it goes with NC State to upset BYU. Next, Gonzaga against Kennesaw State. And Gonzaga barely survives Kennesaw State. Oh, that must be one of Kennesaw State's older logos they used to have. It looks kind of nice. Next, battle of two schools. Let's start with M in Miami and Missouri. But this right here is the Miami Hurricanes, not to be confused with Miami of Ohio, who is already out in this simulation. And the other Miami is out as Missouri moves to the second round. And then we got Purdue against the Dancing Queens. Young and sweet, only seeded 15th. But will they dance on? No, they will not. The Dancing Queens can't dance and jive in the NCAA Game Simulator, as Purdue will be chugging along in the second round. Arizona versus Utah State for the first of the second round games for this region. Arizona to the Sweet 16. And then in the battle of red teams there, Wisconsin against Arkansas. Oh, wait a sec. It's supposed to say Wisconsin there, not Arkansas. Let me fix that. It's taking a while. Come on, NCAA Game Simulator website. There we go. Arkansas barely surviving Wisconsin as the Piggies go to the Sweet 16. Then we got Gonzaga against NC State, I do believe. Yes, NC State. Let me charge this first. There we go. Gonzaga. and NC State. Hopefully it has the Zags going to the Sweet 16. No! They fall to NC State. All right, next is Purdue and Missouri. And NC State's opponent in the Sweet 16 will be Purdue. Yeah, so they got one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16 there. We'll see who it goes with to the Elite Eight. Battle of two schools that have red, and they start with the letter A, in Arizona and Arkansas. In this one, it goes with Arizona beating Arkansas in a game where both teams scored over 100 points, kind of like the Colorado-Florida game from a few years ago. And then next up is NC State against Purdue. Where's NC State? There they are. NC State continues its run. They are in the Elite Eight. So it is Arizona against NC State. Who goes to the Final Four? We haven't had a 1 seed go to the Final Four yet in this simulation, because last year we didn't. And we will have a 1 seed in the Final Four, according to the NCAA Game Simulator this year. And that 1 seed is Arizona. So far, got 2 3 seeds in Michigan State and Illinois, and the only 1 seed to make the Final Four so far, Arizona. Who will be our last team in the Final Four according to the NCAA Game Simulator? We will see. As we go down to the final region, the Midwest region, as we have Michigan going up against UMBC, who was the first 16 seed to take down a 1 seed. Will history repeat itself again according to this NCAA Game Simulator, or will Michigan move on? Michigan will move on. So we have no 16 seed taking out a 1 seed in this year's bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. And at least we have a 15 seed moving on there in Idaho. Next is Georgia against St. Louis. It goes with Georgia barely beating St. Louis by a point. Texas Tech versus Akron is next. Texas Tech survives the upset from Akron. Next is Alabama versus Hofstra. At first it's not letting me click on it. But now it does. And it goes with Alabama beating Hofstra in overtime. So Troy is the only 13th seed to win in this simulation. Yep. And next up, we got Tennessee against either Miami of Ohio and SMU, which will be SMU. I'm hoping Tennessee moves on here. No, it thinks that it'll fall to SMU in the first round. It does not trust the power of Miss Mace this year. Next is Virginia against Wright State. Virginia. Kentucky against Santa Clara. Taking forever, and it goes with Santa Clara, taking out the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Bye-bye, Kentucky. Now our last first-round matchup. It is Iowa State against Tennessee State. Iowa State moving on. There's one of Tennessee State's older logos. Now we start round two. As we got Michigan against Georgia. Michigan to the Sweet 16. Yep, and I knew it was Michigan against Georgia. Next is Texas Tech against Alabama. Oh, come on. There we go. Ugh. Texas Tech takes out Alabama. Then we got SMU against Virginia. We gotta check if it's SMU. Yes, it is indeed SMU. Virginia goes to the Sweet 16. And then Santa Clara and Iowa State. And the last spot in the Sweet 16 goes to Iowa State. Michigan versus Texas Tech. The spot in the Elite Eight goes to Michigan. Next is Iowa State versus Virginia. Both of them played against each other in the Sweet 16 exactly a decade ago, where Virginia is a 1 seed and Iowa State was a 4 seed. But the only difference is Iowa State is seeded higher than Virginia, with them being a 2 seed and Virginia being a 3 seed. And history repeats itself from exactly a decade ago, with Virginia taking out Iowa State. So the final spot in the Final Four comes down to either Michigan or Virginia. And that spot will go to Virginia. So our Final Four, according to the NCAA Game Simulator, we got 1 1 seed and 3 3 seeds. Get it? 1 1 seed and 3 3 seeds. 2 of those are Big Ten teams. 1 of those is a Pac-12 team. Yes, I'm still referring Arizona as a Pac-12 team. And an ACC team in Virginia. So, for a spot in the national title game, first up is Michigan State against Illinois. Hopefully we can find them somewhere. There they are. Going to the national title game is Illinois. And next up is Arizona and Virginia. As for the other Final Four game in the NCAA Game Simulator. And it goes with Arizona to the championship. So, it all comes down to this in the NCAA Game Simulator. The champion could either be Illinois or Arizona. We'll go with a Big Ten team once again, because the previous 2 times I've done this, the last 2 years, first 2 years I've done this, it had Illinois win it all 2 years ago in the NCAA Game Simulator, and then last year Michigan State. Does that streak continue for the Big Ten? We'll have to wait and see. Nope, it is Arizona winning it all in the NCAA Game Simulator that it predicts of who would win it all. So it does go with a 1 seed winning it all this year. I could realistically see that, but although I think Duke is going to win it all. So here we go. Arizona wins it all in the bracket predicted by the NCAA Game Simulator. This was a lot of fun to make, and if you have skipped towards the end and just found out that Arizona won it all, of course you'll be agreeing. Mostly, a lot of you might agree with the NCAA Game Simulator, as this is a very stacked Final Four. Honestly, it could be and could realistically happen. But anyways, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to join the Sports Dude Nation, and stay tuned for more wacky brackets that I do.